Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode 2 of Knitting Between the Lines. I am Mia and I'm coming to you live from the mountains of Western North Carolina. It's the end of October as I'm filming this. Tomorrow is Halloween or Samhain, or as my professor said in an announcement today, the last Monday in October. So we are wrapping up October, which is hard to believe. It's one of my favorite months of the year, and we're jumping into November, which I don't know about you all, but I am a holiday girly. It is like I love the holiday season. Let me specify that. I do like Halloween. I'm not a big celebrator of Halloween, especially right now. My Halloween weekend has consisted of the spookiest working on research with a tight deadline. That's been my Halloween weekend. But I just am not, I like to dress up, but I just don't do a lot of functions. I love the holidays though, and the holidays for me start on November 1st, so I am so stoked. We're going to be talking a little bit about that in today's episode, but there will be more to come in my December episode, I am sure, so just be prepared for that. I am drinking today the Tazo Vanilla Caramel Chai. And I actually really like this chai. I love chai, just for starters. But I'm a little picky with flavored teas, and I like this one. I've been drinking a lot of it, and I'm gonna have to be very careful because it's very full. Out of my new mug from Seeker and Slade, it says the Burrow bed and breakfast. It's not much, but it's home. I was having to read it backwards. It is a Harry Potter inspired mug. It is handmade in the US. I love getting Harry Potter inspired items from small makers instead of the money that'll fuel the creator of the series. I'm a huge Harry Potter girl, but I like to support small creators and shops. So I'm loving this mug. It is so cozy. It's perfect for this time of year. I've been drinking out of it nonstop. I've been on a mug buying binge. It's not been good, but we're not here to talk about mugs. We're here to talk about knitting, and I have a lot of knitting to share with you today. This episode was kind of filmed in 2 parts, so I'm sitting down today to talk to you about my current whips, a couple finished objects, and then I have a yarn haul at the end of this video. But kind of in between, I have a snippet that I filmed a couple weeks ago showing a bunch of other finished objects that were gifted, and they've already been gifted. The people have already received them this month, but I filmed it in advance so you could still see the objects. So we're gonna have a cut in the middle of this. I'm gonna try to make it as fluid as possible, and you're gonna see those finished objects, and then we'll come back here for a pretty decent sized yarn haul. Not huge, but decent sized. So I think I'm gonna start with my whips, but before I do that, I'm gonna start with one finished object because I'm wearing it, if you saw last month's episode. So I did finish my Pink Velvet by Andrea Mowry, and I'm gonna stand for you all. So this is the completed sweater with the colorwork yoke. Oh, I just hit my heel. So couple things about me completing this sweater. Lessons were learned, and I'm gonna get in a better seated position. Lessons were learned, and I don't want to say there are regrets, but lessons were definitely learned. So I made this sweater with Pearl Soho's linen quill because I really love knitting with it, and I used Fresh Nutmeg for the main color, and then the contrast color is Honey Pink. So I forgot basically how much linen quill blooms when you block it, and this sweater bloomed a lot when I blocked it. As you can probably see in the sleeves, I went up a needle size because that usually works best for me in the sleeves, and they're comfortable, but they're a little baggier, and they're definitely longer than they're supposed to be. I think these are supposed to be 3/4 length. They're not. I roll up the cuff. And the sweater definitely did bloom, even at the shoulders here. I think it's a little wider than it should be. I should have done a swatch. I should have checked my gauge. I don't do that. I just hate doing it, and I should have done it, and if I had, I would have realized I probably should have gone down a sweater size to make this because of how much it grows when you block it. So it's not as fitted as I was expecting it to be. It's a little longer than I was expecting it to be. The sleeves are definitely larger than I was expecting. So I was a little disappointed because I didn't get the exact outcome that I wanted with it. However, it is still a very cute sweater. I envision myself wearing it with a skirt, and it's not oversized enough, and it's not like fitted enough, you know. It's not that like good like size to pair even tucked, like a French tuck, with a skirt, like a long skirt for fall. So it goes great with jeans. So yeah, lessons were learned. Whether I apply those in the future or not is the question. We'll get to that in a minute. But yes, lessons were learned. Also, I feel like it's not as noticeable, but when I did block it, a little bit of the brown did bleed onto the honey pink. It's not that noticeable. The honey pink is just slightly darker than it was before I blocked it. Not a whole lot though. It's not too much to be upset about. I ended up being more upset over the fit. So yeah, as you can see, it's definitely like, it's got more positive ease than I had planned. But I have been loving it. It is very comfy. It is very soft, as I thought it would be. And I have my like half and half triangles wrapped behind me, which is also very soft. I use it as a blanket all the time. So I do like how it turned out. I debated redoing the sleeves. That may still happen in the future. I don't know if I'll actually do it. We'll see. I think if I just fixed the sleeves, that would make me a lot happier with this sweater, but we'll see if I actually do it. There's no guarantee. So that is my first big finished object. I finished it actually a while ago, probably 3 or so weeks ago. So it's been done for a while. So it's been nice and lived in, and I've gotten kind of more happy with it as I've worn it more, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's talk about my current whip. I only have one current whip because I finished a lot of stuff in October, including like something I finished like 2 days ago. But my current whip, I am so excited about it. Quick background, when I bought the yarn for it, I guess I can get to this in a minute, but I wasn't, okay, we'll get to it. I'll show you the whip. Okay, this is the Nostalgia Tee by Bloom and Create. Emma, she's a fabulous human being. And this is her new sweater or t-shirt pattern, and it's kind of all scrunched up on the needles. Let me try to show you like the front of it, except it's all scrunched up. So we'll just show you. Oh no, I'm twisting it. I have so many pens on my project bag. Okay, so this is like the motif, just to give you like an idea, but you're kind of looking at the side. I should have like knit to the front so you could see it better, but trying to. This is what it's looking like. It is, I'm doing the sweater version, so it's a 3/4 length sleeve, and it's just a gorgeous pattern. It is supposed to invoke, it is inspired by, it's supposed to invoke nostalgia, obviously the Nostalgia Tee, but it's inspired by the friendship bracelets used to make like at summer camp as kids, which is like what the color work is here. It's a good pattern for any kind of scraps or mini skein sets you have. I opted to go for the like more traditional route, especially with the pattern, and just using 2 contrasting colors versus multiples. So I just did 2, and that is what it's looking like. I have made a lot of progress on it. I started it a week ago. And this is addicting. It has been so nice compared to this sweater, which the color work like repeat was like a 14 to 16 stitch count or something. This color work repeat is a 4 stitch count repeat. So it's very easy to memorize with each row. So it's not too overwhelming. You don't have to keep checking the pattern as you're working on it. It's very comforting to knit, and I have really been enjoying it. Obviously, because I've gone quite a ways, and it's getting longer and longer to get through each row now because we are working on increases. I think I have like 2 increases left before splitting for the sleeves and working on the body. But yes, this is what it's looking like. I'm really, really pleased with how it is looking. This is like just to give you a better look at the color work. It's just awkward because here's the back shaping. And then here's like the front of the actual sweater. But that's like kind of more so what the color work looks like. So yes, I have really been loving this. The yarn I am using is actually part of my yarn haul, which I'm going to do in the video, but since I'm showing you the sweater now, I'm going to tell you what the yarn is. And the yarn is Seaside Fiber Arts, and I got it at the Southeastern Atlantic Fiber Fair, SAF for short. It is my local fiber fair. It's held the second to last weekend in October. And it's literally like 5 minutes from my house, and I went this year, and majority of my yarn haul is from that. And I decided to get some yarn from Seaside Fiber Arts specifically for this sweater. I really like their yarn. It is all naturally dyed. It is all very cushy and wonderful to knit with. I made a couple of DK weight, I believe, hats last year with it for some of my advisors for undergrad before I graduated, and I really love knitting with it, so I decided to do this for the sweater. My issue was I went to SAF with the sweater in mind, but I had no clue what colors I wanted to do. None at all. So I had a time trying to pick them out, and so I went for these colors. However, I still have some of the main color. Let's see, not caked up. Here we go. So here's the main color, and this is Seaside Fiber Arts. It's their fingering weight. I used the same base for all my colors. In the booth at SAF, this color, and even in this lighting a little bit, it looked more red. It was red. So when I got it to go with the contrasting colors here, I was thinking it's red. It's more of a red. I get home in natural lighting. This is definitely like, it's a pink. So I got home and I was like, oh no. And I was very worried about this sweater and how the colors were going to turn out, because this is more of a pink than I thought it was when I bought it. So that was my first issue. Second issue, I didn't notice in the booth, which is my fault. It is superwash. So I have heard superwash is not the best for color work. I think it's just because of how the floats end up sitting once you block the work. We're just taking a chance with it because I really love how it's turned out. I was really concerned about the colors, and once I really started going at it, I love it. I love the colors together. It's great. I was not planning on making a pink sweater, but we are making a pink sweater. Turns out that's actually okay, because I think I mentioned it in my last podcast episode. I'm waiting on the Sorella Autumn in New York collection. I pre-ordered sweater quantity of the Autumn in New York colorway, so I'm waiting to receive that, and that'll be my next sweater, or I'll be making it at the same time as this, depending on timing. And of course the Autumn in New York colorway is very red, so it actually turned out okay. This wasn't red because I'm about to do another red sweater. So yes, this is the Nostalgia tee. I'm doing the 3/4 length sleeve. Main color is Seaside Fiber Arts fingering weight in Sequoia, and then my first contrast color, which is this light brown here, same base, Seaside Fiber Arts fingering in henna. I hope I'm not getting them mixed up. And then the second contrast color, which is this really pretty, more of a cream, is Seaside Fiber Arts fingering, and it's Walaba wood, and then in quotations, Guyana. I'm probably not saying that right, but yes, it's all naturally dyed. It's gorgeous, and when I block it, I'm blocking it in cold water. So nothing. I don't have the same issue as I had with the pink velvet. So that is my only whip right now. It's a pretty good whip to have though. It's a good balance between like not too boring but not too complex, and I have been enjoying it. So I'm gonna put my project bag down and show you my finished objects that are all from me. So first thing, this is like beret girl autumn for me. I am very much into berets right now. And you're gonna see in the continuation of my finished objects in a minute, the pre-recorded video I did matching berets for me and my friend for her birthday. She was actually my French teacher in high school. I don't need to give you all this background because I think I mentioned it in the other video, but basically she went to France. She brought me some yarn back from France. She said, only deal is I want one skein for you to make me something, and the other skein you can keep and make for yourself. So I found a beret pattern that I had the exact amount of yarn for per skein, and I made her a beret and I made me a beret, and I gifted her beret, which she received last week, and I show it in just a minute. My beret is done, and I have worn it a lot since making it. So here it is. Quick note, I ran out of yarn for this one. I didn't run out of yarn for hers, but I ran out of yarn for mine, so I actually used some of her yarn at the top because I didn't really have anything similar, and to buy this yarn and have it shipped here just for that little bit was gonna be like $25, and I was not about to do that. So I might end up putting a pom-pom here to cover it, but it's really not crazy noticeable, and I certainly don't see it when I'm wearing it, so out of sight, out of mind. So this was made with the Bergère de France yarn, and this is, I think it's the Cirrus base and the Poudre colorway. It's the Beret Alpha by, I have my notes here somewhere, Laisse Fillet. On Ravelry. It is a French beret pattern. My French is very rusty. I studied French in undergrad and Spanish. French was my minor. So my French is very rusty, but I was able to do it. And I believe you could easily do it with Google Translate. The biggest thing was the abbreviations are, of course, entirely different. And also figuring out needle size was a little iffy as well, but if you go on my Ravelry, I think I have all that reflected in my completed projects, so might be helpful. I will say once this was blocked, it really took its shape. This is beautiful. I'm gonna take my hair down to show it to you. My hair is dirty, you're gonna have to forgive. But it's a beautiful pattern, not blocked, but blocking it really gave that, see how it already just has structure holding it up like this? It really gave it that defined beret structure. So blocking it did, like, it just really enhanced it. But even without blocking, it was beautiful. So I have been wearing this a lot, like a slouchy beret in the back is how I've been wearing it. But I mean, you know, you can wear it, you gotta like play around with it like this, you know, you could, like a more traditional style. I, however, have been wearing it like a slouchy one, and I've really been enjoying it. So that is my finished beret. It's just, the shape is just so great. I love it. It's a really great pattern for the amount of yarn I had. I think this is a Aran weight yarn, so it worked beautifully. My hair is a mess, but we're about to put on another beret because guess what? This is all the berets. I have done all the berets and I want to do more. So I finished that, and I was in between projects at the time, and I wanted something else on my needles. And Knit Collage has a beret pattern, and it used Spun Cloud, which I had some Spun Cloud left over from when I made my Sophia tote from the spring make along. It's right there, yeah, on my door. So I had a bit of the Spun Cloud onyx left over, so I made a Knit Collage chunky beret. And this one is definitely meant to be worn like a slouchy beret too. It is super oversized, and oh yeah, hold up, I have a couple notes on it to tell you about. So I knit this beret 3 or 4 times before I was happy with it. First time my tension was too tight on it, and it was insane. I had to undo the whole thing. Second time I significantly loosened my tension, got this result, finished it off, but it was huge. And like, even now it's huge on my head. it feels bigger than the last time I wore it, but it's huge. So then I knit it a third time, so I actually only knit it really 3 times. Crazy here. So the third time that I knit it, I still followed the pattern. I kept my gauge really loose, but I decreased an additional 4 stitches right before the ribbing. And then I like significantly increased or tightened my gauge for the ribbing. Because believe it or not, you're like, yeah, that's really loose on you, Mia. This was even looser on my head. Like if a gust of wind hit me, it would have just flown right off my head. So that's why I decreased the 4 stitches. It is still loose. It is definitely one that I wear should wear with my hair down and like cleaner, because my hair is not as clean right now, so it's not as full-bodied as it can be. I feel like that like fills out the beret. So yeah, it is definitely huge, and I don't have a small head by any means. So this would be something, if you have a smaller head especially, you're gonna need to adjust. But that is my finished chunky beret, and the pattern calls for a full skein of spun cloud, but I only had, I think a full skein is 200, or is it 100 grams? I don't know. I think it's 200 grams. And I had like 150 left, and I still didn't even use all of that. So it's a good scrap. It's a good scrap pattern. That was the test for me. So it's nice. It's just a little big, but it is cute. It's like a statement piece. I wore it actually to my friend's dinner, who got the other hat to this, and I wore it with like a almost all black outfit. I posted it on my Instagram. We went to a French restaurant, so I felt very chic, and it was very nice. And my last finished object are my Socktober Hocus Pocus socks. So I just started them in my last episode, and I literally just pulled them off the like blocking things. These just finished blocking, so they are done, and I love them. Oh, I'm so excited. I want to take a stylized picture with them later. I have like this idea in my head. We'll see if I can execute it. Let me show you one at a time. So this is what they look like. They are knit with Nomadic Yarns, self-striping, and Sarah Sanderson, and then the contrast color here is in Black Cat, and I believe both are the Trusty Sock base. What kind of heel did I do for this? I have it somewhere in my notes. I always forget the name of it. Ah yes, the Fish Lips Kiss. That's what I did for the heel. This was my first time doing this was my first time in years doing self-striping socks, and I forgot how enjoyable they are. But this was also my first time ever doing self-striping with a heel like this, to like very intentionally have an aesthetic striping. And a matching striping. So these are like super, it was a test for me to see if I could do it correctly. It was very simple, and I pulled it off, and they are so cute. I probably could have done a taller cuff, or not cuff, but leg. I probably could have done a taller one because I have quite a bit of yarn left over, but I really like how they turned out at the length that they are. So now I just have more yarn, leftover yarn, to make and maybe another pair, maybe not as tall, but I need to see how much I have left. So I definitely have enough yarn to make another pair similar in the future. But yes, I love how these turned out. Like I said, want to try to take a stylized picture with them watching Hocus Pocus or something later today. And tomorrow is Halloween. I'm working from home tomorrow, so there's no like getting dressed up to go into the office or you know, so this will be my Halloween outfit tomorrow while I work here at my desk. So yeah, those are all my finished objects that I have with me because they were for me. But we're going to pass the torch over to past Mia with the finished objects that have been gifted already. So I will see you again in just a few minutes to do my yarn haul. Hi, hello, Mia from the past here to show you a couple of projects that I'm not going to be able to include in my new podcast episode because they're all being gifted within the next couple of weeks 2 of them I am shipping out tomorrow or Tuesday. For reference, today is October, I have to look at the date, 9th, so it's a Sunday. First things first, I wanted to show you these socks I showed in the last episode. They are finished blocking, so I just wanted to show you what those looked like. I'm gonna package these up. I feel comfortable showing all of these items right now. I mean, they won't be shown to you all till early November, but everyone will have received their gifts by then. So this is what the socks look like blocked. Very cute. I'm gonna package them up later this evening. And then you might remember the last episode I talked about a project that I was making for myself that I couldn't tell you much about because I made something identical for one of my friends for her birthday. And hopefully I have finished the one for myself in the future and you have already seen it. So the one for my friend is this beret here. And I'm gonna throw it on. I don't think she'll mind. My hair is actually clean, so I gotta get it like, well, this is a terrible like display of how to wear a beret. There we go, that's much better. So here is the beret for her. I think this is the color I'm giving her. I haven't decided yet, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to present her with both and let her pick the color that she wants. Both hats were made out of yarn she got in France. This one is the Bergère de France in the Végétal colorway. So it's this really pretty glittery brown. I haven't blocked it yet. So this is just what it looks like unblocked. I really like how you can see the decreases in it. Really nice. I didn't do the little like cigarette, the little stick at the end of the beret because I just wasn't sure I was gonna have enough yarn. I had just the right amount of yarn in each colorway to do the berets, so I was scared I was gonna run out, but it's literally just stockinette, the whole thing. Even the bottom here curls up a bit on itself, which might work itself out with blocking a bit, but it's just stockinette. Really simple. The pattern I used is the Beret Alpha by, have it printed out here, by Laisse Fille. It's a French pattern, so, but it was perfect just for the yardage that I had and the kind of yarn that I was using. So that's my friend's beret here. I still need to block it. I don't know about you all, but I am the kind of person, especially with gift knits, I block them pretty much right before I give them. So blocked those socks. I'm packaging them up tomorrow and she'll get this, my friend, in a couple of weeks, and I'll probably block it either this week or early next. So that way it's just nice and fresh for her when she gets it. So that is, and now that I think about it, if I'm giving this to her in a couple weeks, I need to finish mine if I'm going to present her with both and let her choose, because she said one skein was for me and she wanted something else for her with the other skein, so I decided to go for a beret. And a little context, this is a very good friend of mine. She was also my high school French teacher, so she's a fellow Francophile, and she has quite the collection of berets, but I thought this might be nice for her. The third item that I'm shipping out tomorrow is for my friend's mom. She messaged me a couple weeks ago. Her mom has been sick and she asked for a kitty hat, which a kitty hat is actually a pattern I developed, and I'm not claiming in any way that I'm the mastermind behind this kind of design, but the actual pattern itself for this kind of hat I wrote a pattern called the kitty hat pattern back in 2016, maybe earlier, 2015. I went on a weird like pattern writing rampage shortly after I learned how to knit. Like I taught myself how to knit in 2014 and was writing patterns by 2015. So this is just what it looks like. So this is for her mom and I just finished it. It's a really quick, chunky knit. So I took the weekend to work on it. And that's what it looks like. She wanted like a light gray, so I went with Lion Brand Wool Ease which is Wool Ease Thick and Quick, which is one of my favorite yarns you can get at Michael's, and this is in the colorway Caro Road. So it's just this light gray with like some black and brown speckles, very like kind of calico-y, gray calico-y cat vibes. And it was funny because when she asked me about making one of these hats, I haven't made one in ages, and it was a pattern that I kind of developed because a friend of mine wanted a hat like this, and it was right before the pussy hat era, and all that took off in 2016. So I, at the time, being a broke college student, actually made a decent like side hustle kind of money making a bunch of kitty hats, but in pink, aka pussy hats, for people around the time of the Women's March in 2016. Or no, I guess maybe it was 2017 when that happened. Yeah, it was 2017. But I had to find the pattern, and here it is. So this is just this is like really rudimentary pattern designing by like 19-year-old Mia. So it was a nice trip down memory lane. It's a very quick knit. I enjoyed it, and happy to send this off to her mom. Or actually, I'm sending it to her, and she'll be gifting it to her mom. Okay, last gift knit that I have that I'm hoping to get to the receiver by this coming weekend, and it is for a very good friend of mine who is having her first baby, and making things for babies is very exciting. And my friend's baby's nursery is actually Winnie the Pooh themed, and I love Winnie the Pooh. I got very emotional when I heard that because I was raised on Winnie the Pooh and I loved Winnie the Pooh. And I wanted to make something. I knew to start, I knew this friend of mine is very knitworthy. I don't know if you go off of that. Very knitworthy friend. And so I knew I wanted to make her a blanket. And I wanted to crochet it because I've been doing a lot of knitting. So I wanted a crochet project. So I knew I wanted to crochet her baby blanket to go with the nursery. So this is the blanket. It's a good size. So it's not quite as tall as I am, but I mean, that's about as tall as it is. And it is honeycombs. So this is like the width kind of it. I don't know. But yeah, so these are, it's like a honeycomb baby blanket. I'm gonna try and show you some detail up close. So they're essentially just granny squares, but they're hexagons. Hex? Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that a hexagon? I didn't like geometry, but it's essentially like the construction of granny squares. So there was a lot of weaving in ends at the end of it. Good portion of my time spent on that, but I just finished this weekend. It's a very nice blanket. I'm cuddled up with it now. The pattern, I found it on Etsy, but I think it's also on Ravelry. It's the Be Happy Honeycomb Baby Blanket Lapgan by Crafting Happiness. I'm pretty sure it's on Ravelry. I just found it on Etsy. Sometimes, especially for some crochet projects, I find that I have better luck finding patterns on Etsy, at least first, than I do on Ravelry. Might depend on keywords, I don't know, but this is it. And I'm very excited to gift this to her. And as you can see, I have like some coordinating, I don't want to call them hexagons, now I'm self-conscious, but you know, coordinating little honeycombs because I ran out of the main color of yarn, and when I went back to the store to get it, they didn't have any. So I said, all right, I only had like 12 more to make, so I was like, we're just gonna do some alternating colors. I'm just very happy showing it here on camera. So the colors I use, the main color is the Caron 1 pound. I got all of this at Michael's. Is the Caron 1 pound in, where's the color? Sunflower. And then the kind of more golden colorway is the Craft Smart Value Economique. Also just available at Michael's, and I believe it's in mustard. And then, I don't know if you noticed, but each little granny square, you have the main color, and then you have kind of like a second color that goes around it, and that's like a lighter yellow. And for that color, I used impeccable yarn, I believe, oh yep, and butterscotch. And then the white trim edges and the joining yarn was impeccable in Aran, A-R-A-N, like the weight. So that is the baby blanket. I'm hoping to gift this to her in person because she lives here. She's a dear friend of mine. Plus, I don't want to have to ship this. I'd rather just gift it in person. So that is the baby blanket. And she's due in November. So I thought a baby blanket would also just be good for this season. So those are the projects that I have been working on that I couldn't talk a lot about in my last episode or really anywhere on social media. And I'm very excited to get to show them off here, which is why I did this in advance, because I wanted to be able to show you, but I knew I wouldn't have them by the time I was filming. Also, before I hop off and pass the baton onto present day Mia, I'm wearing the Andrea Mowry Weekender Light today. This is the sweater I knit last summer that I talked about in my last podcast episode that I couldn't remember the name of. It just blanked. I don't know, but I have been living in this sweater since the weather got cooler. I forgot how much I loved it. It's just the perfect everyday sweater. And yeah, okay. Well, I'll be seeing you in present day soon. Thank you, past Mia, for sharing. I feel like a reporter. Thank you for reporting and live from 2 weeks ago. So now we're gonna do my yarn haul, which is very exciting because it's two things I love, yarn and shopping. So we're gonna start off with the stuff that I got at SAF last weekend, and then something a little extra at the end. So first thing that I got actually is not yarn, but I wanted to show it because it's very cute, and it also includes emotion. So first thing I got was from Apple Hill Farm, which is a farm located in Banner Elk, North Carolina, and they're an alpaca farm. So first thing I got was actually just some more stitch markers, and these are from Laura Hand Knits, but I got them at this booth. And they are just, you've probably seen these everywhere, but they are just the little kitty cat stitch markers. I just needed some more basic stitch markers that didn't have any dangly charms on them. And so I got these. I have actually been wanting some like this for a while, so I was very excited to find them, and I have practiced patience and not opened them since I bought them, so I could show them to you in the package. The other thing I got, and actually I say I got them, but I went with my partner and he actually bought these two things for me. It's very sweet. Is this little Christmas ornament. It's a little felted alpaca, and it's just very cute, very detailed, and it's just adorable, and I do love it. This is our first Christmas, mine and my partner's, living together in our own place together, so we're definitely collecting ornaments right now. We need more ornaments, so this is gonna go on our tree. Very cute, very exciting. So that was from Apple Hill Farms, and I believe they do tours. So if you're in the North Carolina area, they do tours. Of course, I got the yarn for my sweater, which I showed just a minute ago, but it's from Seaside Fiber Arts, and I believe they're located out of Virginia. There's their logo. Got a little sticker. Yeah, they're located out of Virginia, and it's all naturally dyed. So, like I said, I love their yarn. It's very cushy. It's very pleasant to knit with. The last thing that I got at SAF, I didn't get a lot this year. Well, looking back, I don't usually get like a whole lot. I'm very much I need a project to buy the yarn, right? Like I need something in mind in order to buy it. I'm very bad at just buying yarn to buy yarn, which I guess is a good problem to have. So I ended up not buying a lot of yarn, but I was at Forbidden Fiber Co.'s booth, and they're out of Brighton, Tennessee, and they had a SAF colorway. It's always fun to find the festival colorway, and it was just gorgeous and so sparkly. I got the sparkle base, and it's very fall, very moody. I really like it. She actually mentioned that this colorway is just a combination of all her fall colorways, which I think is fairly obvious. So this is 70% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and 10% stellina, and it's in the color quintessential SAF 2022 on her, I think it's her Pride base, if I'm reading the tag correctly. So I'm gonna make a pair of socks with this eventually. And I also got a mini skein from her to match to go with the socks. I do not know the color of this nor the base. I'm assuming it's a similar base as the sock base, and I think this is a green from her fall colorway. So it's gonna match really nicely for a pair of just fun fall socks, or just moody socks really, because we're about to go into winter here in the next month or so. But yeah, I need to find a pattern, or just do a vanilla sock. Sorry, I have hair in my mouth. Okay, so that was all that I got at SAF, but I did get some knit collage yarn. I'm not participating in the fall make along, just because of time. I might participate in the spring 2023 make along. It falls right around my birthday, so it's just a good excuse to purchase a kit to participate. But like I mentioned earlier, this is mine and my partner's first Christmas living in our own home together, and I really wanted to make us stockings. Like, I wanted to knit us stockings, and I wanted them to be like not necessarily super chunky, but definitely wasn't gonna go for a fingering weight stocking, solely because I do not have the time. I mean, it's almost November and I haven't made any yet. And I found a really nice stocking pattern on Knit Collage's website, and I forget the name of the pattern, but it's one of their stocking patterns. And there's different yarn variations you can use, but one is just one skein of spun cloud to make one stocking. So my partner Colton picked out his yarn, and I picked out mine, and we are gonna have Knit Collage and knit stockings. So these are Knit Collage yarn is so chunky. I love it. That's my dryer. Can you hear that? Sorry. It's Sunday, so it's laundry day. So yeah, these are the colors we chose. Both are spun cloud. He chose breezy blue, which is this really like almost, I want to say smoky blue, but it's still cool, you know? But yeah, and the spun cloud of course has the glitter, which is going to be nice for the holidays. And then I got lavender dust, which is really, definitely you can see the purple, but it feels more pink, which is fine because I really wanted the blush one, which they're out of stock of, or they were when I bought it. So this one's a lavender dust, and so they're both, I know they're like not traditional Christmas colors, which I'm not super in. I don't need to have red and greens and stuff everywhere, but they are like cooler winter colors, which I really like. So I'm gonna be making stockings with these, hoping to have them done by December. We'll definitely probably put our tree up after Thanksgiving. If it were up to me, it'd be up Tuesday, November 1st, but I think Colton wants to wait till after Thanksgiving. So ideally these would go up when the tree goes up, but that's probably not going to happen. But I would like to have them done by December, if I can. That way, you know, I can look at them for a couple weeks before taking them down. So yeah, so that is the additional yarn that I got from Knit Collage. I ordered it last weekend. It got here in like 2 days. They are so fast with shipping. And they're like little babies. They're so cuddly. I love them. So yeah, so I'm gonna cast on these stockings probably sometime soon. Now's the best time because I only have one whip. You know, I need to have like 20 whips at once or it's not normal. But that's all I have in terms of knitting. In terms of reading, so in case this is your first episode, Knitting Between the Lines, I'm a library science student and a knitter, and I love to read. That's a given. And so I also talk about what I'm currently reading, and it hasn't changed much since last month. I'm still working on Dracula. I am almost done. I want to say like 3 chapters left, 3 or 4, so I'll definitely be done by next episode, don't worry. But it is taking some time, mainly because I have been so swamped with work. I work full-time in marketing, and also with school. We're buckling down. A lot of my classes wrap up before Thanksgiving, so I have like 2 or 3 weeks left. It's very final moments of the semester, so I'm getting in bed late and I'm usually exhausted, and if I do any reading, it's usually like 10 minutes, so I'm not getting a lot of reading in. And then in my free time, of course, I want to knit for the most part, because I do a lot of reading for school in general. But Dracula's good. It's getting to the climax. Like I mentioned last month, I've really been enjoying it. I've gotten more into classics in the last couple of years. I had some conversation with some of you in the comments in my last podcast video about it, and just how classics are kind of forced on us in high school. And, you know, especially as teenagers, you don't want to do things that are forced on you, and so you get this kind of aversion to them. And it could also just be, as teenagers, you just don't appreciate the classics. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten more interested in reading classic books, and I understand them better, and they're easier for me to read. I think that's also coming out of, you know, college and stuff, and having to read more advanced material, so you're more easily able to read classic books that can be a little more difficult to just read for leisure at like 16. But I've really been enjoying Dracula. It's been good. You know, it's definitely one of those books where there's more description than definitely necessary. But it's been very interesting. We're at the climax. I'm reading it with the prior knowledge of a lot of the underlying themes. If you're not familiar with underlying themes, especially involving like Bram Stoker, and so it's been interesting to like kind of pick those out as I read. But yeah, I've been liking it. My whole plan was to have it done by the end of September and read the book called, I think it's called Dracul, for the month of October. And I'm still reading Dracula, so that's just gonna be pushed. But I'm excited to do more reading with the holidays coming up. I plan to take a significant amount of time off of work. Plus I'll be on Christmas break for school anyway, so I hope to get a decent amount of reading done, but definitely lighter stuff, like young adult kind of stuff that's just like really comforting. But yeah, I've been enjoying Dracula. I hope to have it done in the next couple of weeks, and I'll have more of an update for you by then. I will post like an actual live update on my Instagram story just with an overall review of it, but I'll go more in depth obviously here, because it's easier sometimes to talk than to write. But that's basically it. I think I've covered everything. What I plan to work on coming up. I would love a new sock pattern to work on, and I need to figure out like a holiday sock pattern to work on. So I might be working on some socks next time I see you. But otherwise, if you're in the United States, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. If not, I hope you have a wonderful November in general, and I will be seeing you in December. Bye, everybody.